Hello and welcome to the channel. Today on the channel we are going to have a look over the topic of which I actually talk about in chapter 7 of the book. And here's the book here, Happiness and Well-Being. We'll get the camera to focus on it there, if we can do that. There we go. Happiness and Well-Being Through Balance and Progress, the PROWIRC method. And today we're skipping over to talk about the topic of Chapter 7 because Chapter 7, the chapter is about creativity, and it's really one of my favorite pet topics in the PROWIRC method. You know, that being because creativity is really our sort of, well, it is our godlike power. It's our omnipotent power. If you look up the word creativity, I mentioned this before in the dictionary, it says to bring something into being that wasn't previously there. And there's all kinds of ways, that we use our creativity. It literally has any of the answers, any of the things we're looking to create in our life. Creativity. Our personal creativity, which we all have, every person has, we have the divine right and power to it. So I like it because once you engage your creativity in anything it is you're trying to work on, or anything it is you'd like to create or do or improve or whatever, and once you get past, just sort of starting it and you actually get your creativity engaged, to me, it's amazing how much power is there and the interesting and wonderful ideas that you can come up with. So today we're going to, in the book, I actually go over a number of types of creativity that we use, and some of it we use automatically. Some of it we, pops up the second we start troubleshooting. Like you come down in the morning to your car and to go to work, and the car doesn't start, and you start thinking, okay, what am I going to do here? Am I going to get the booster cables? Am I going to call the Auto League? Should I jump on transit? Should I call a taxi? Should I lift the hood and maybe see what I can do here myself? Right away, your creativity begins to send you options, things that you could do to solve that situation, and also sends you the calculations on which one's probably going to look better towards getting you there on time or very close to on time, and and of course, or at least have the predictability of getting you there. So we're going to look at a couple of types of creativity that we actually set forth to use on today's show here, and I'm going to call the first one creativity for creativity's sake, and then I'm going to call the second one creative problem solving. Now, creativity for creativity's sake, I basically use that to describe anything where you sit down with the idea to sort of bring something into being or create something on a given day where it doesn't have to be done. You just decide to do it. In the book, one of the things that we are interested in having you do, and you'll be interested as well, is to have a 15-minute creativity for creativity's sake exercise that you do every day, and you would do that in the morning. Hopefully, when you get up with your first coffee, get up that little bit earlier, or when you just get up and you're sort of getting going. For the sake of a 15 minutes exercise, you would have prepared topics, in advance to just sit down and write a little something, on a topic for 15 minutes creatively. So this is called the creativity for creativity's sake exercise. And what we feel that does is to actually get your brain kind of working on a creative path and in a creative mode each day, and sort of infuse that power into your life, and so that the habit is for you to start actually using your power of creativity all day long as you work along with everything you do. And the second type of creativity we're looking at here is your creative problem solving. That's where you sort of take an objective or a problem or something specific that interests you, and you just decide, in this particular time slot, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to spend a certain amount of time each day, or better to always, to sit down at a certain time regularly for creativity exercises. But the problem-solving exercise is, for instance, obviously in this book, Happiness and Well-Being through Balance and Progress, the PROWIRC method, there are the 7 areas that we talk about for you to keep in progress. So, of course, the areas are power, relationships, organization, wealth, image, relaxation, and creativity. And really the idea in the book to experience that sort of happiness and well-being is just simply the goal of keeping these 7 areas in progress, in a state of progress in your life. So when we sit down to do a creativity exercise, for instance, we could, in your weekly meeting with yourself, which is something that we ask you to do in the book, and I've talked about in previous videos, you sit down for an hour-long meeting with yourself once a week, and you're planning your schedule for the week. But one of the things you're also doing is you're taking a look at these 7 areas, and you're asking yourself, do I consider this area to be in progress? If yes, good. If not, and it's in some degree of regress, then we'd like you to use your power of creativity to take a few minutes right there and say, okay, if I have this one area in regress, what are some activities that I could do to actually move that area into progress? And rather than just coming up with an activity and trying to do it, this is where we're going to give you a technique here. Actually, for both the creativity for creativity's sake exercises and for the problem-solving exercise, we're going to give you an activity here that you can do, because people say, you know what, Ron, I sat down with my creativity for creativity's sake time period. I couldn't think of what to write about. And then I sat down with my problem-solving day to make a list of things that I could write about, and I couldn't think of anything. I couldn't think of anything good to write about. I couldn't think of anything that was going to be breakthrough, anything that was going to be really interesting, or I just couldn't think of anything. I couldn't pull that from my creativity. Well, we're gonna give you an exercise first off here today, now, to actually address that, so that when you sit down to make a creative list, or when you sit down to do your creativity, you're going to have a methodology here with either your, as I said, your creative problem solving or your creativity sake exercise to actually get you going on that. And here's the exercise. When you decide that you need a list of activities to choose from that you could do, for instance, to put your some area of your life into progress from where it is now, and you sit down and you think, oh, I can't think of anything. Now, what you're really saying there is, I can't think of anything good. I can't think of anything smart. I can't think of anything I don't find silly, or I can't write down anything that I would find that's an activity that I think, this is kind of a crappy idea, and feel embarrassed to yourself that you even came up with it. And anytime a person is sitting down to do a creative exercise and they got nothing, it's, to me, because you actually have sort of a fear of doing it, and the fear is that, well, you won't be able to come up with anything, or the fear is predominantly that you fear you're going to come up with something silly, or something stupid, or something crappy, or something not, you're sitting down there to be creative, and you want to, where's my creativity here? And, and you want to be wowed by it. And so, in the back of your mind, you're saying, if I come up with something disappointing, I'm going to be disappointed. And that stops your creativity from flowing. So we're going to give you an exercise here to do, both on the create list when you're trying to come up with your list weekly to problem solve. Hey, what's a topic I could do for creativity's sake every day this week? When I sit down, I'm going to just start writing. And I'll come up with a little list of topics there. Spend a few minutes on it and come up with one. And then just pick one and then just do it. Or when I sit down to do my creativity for creativity's sake exercise, I'm going to sit down, and I've already got my topic, and I'm just going to start writing. Same thing can happen there. You could be wanting to write your list. Nothing happens. You're going to want to sit down and start writing, but nothing happens. Once again, we're going to draw your attention to the fact that nothing's happening because you don't want to write anything that's not good. You don't want to write anything that will embarrass you to yourself. You don't want to write anything that's, you don't consider it to be smart, or you don't consider it to be insightful, or whatever it is. And for each person, it's kind of a different thing that stops them there. Some people are afraid of actually writing something stupid, or some people are afraid of writing something silly, or some people are afraid they're going to be kind of embarrassed to themselves at the moment they start writing something down and they go, what's that? That's ridiculous. So I'm going to give you an exercise right away that you can get past this. So when you are sitting down to write that list of activities that you could do for a certain area, or you're sitting down to improve, take that area of your life into progress, or you're sitting down to write a list of topics you could use for your creativity for creativity's sake, and you're sitting down and you have nothing there, you're going to think to yourself, okay, I'm trying to think of a list of here. Now, things are popping into your head, but you're thinking, well, that's stupid, or that's silly, or I write down this, I'm going to do it, as if I'm going to do that. I mean, that's, I'm just embarrassed to myself that's where I would start, so I don't feel creative or whatever. So whatever the thing is that you feel you're kind of afraid of there, or it's engaging against you, the silliness, the fear of writing something stupid, sit down and say, okay, I'm going to take a different slant on this creativity project. For the 15 minutes of my creativity for creativity's sake, I'm going to sit down and try to write something stupid. I'm going to just sit down, and every stupid idea that comes to me, I'm going to write it down. Or I'm going to set the project, the creative task to my brain to, no, let me sit down and write something stupid. In fact, I'm going to do it on purpose so that if I'm writing something that's stupid, I can go, hey, I'm doing pretty good at this. And you can have a laugh at it, which is a good way to get your creativity going. If you feel your fear predominantly is that you're going to write something silly, okay, great. Sit down in your creativity for creativity's sake exercise and say, you know what, this week, for the first couple of exercises, all I'm going to do, I've got this topic I'm going to write about, but I'm just going to try to write silly things about it and just start writing. If you think, oh, gee, I'm writing something really crappy, or I'm a poor writer, or whatever the thing is that kind of stops you there, say, you know what, that's exactly what I'm going to do today. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to have a laugh at it. I'm going to have a laugh at my own expense. And, I'm not going to be kept from creativity here. Now, there's a very interesting thing that you're going to find, and ultimately it's going to be amazing. When you start pulling from this well of creativity, even if you sit down to try to write something insightful, or you try to write something intelligent or smart or something that you'd be proud of, you will also write things that are not insightful, that are not intelligent, that are not smart, that you would not be proud of. So that's the thing that keeps you from it. So you sit down and say, you know what, I'm going to try to write things here that are not insightful, that are not smart. I'm going to try to write things that are silly. I'm going to try to write things that are stupid. I'm going to start writing right now, and here I go. And you know what's interestingly going to happen there? And when you read that stuff back at the end of your 15 minutes, you will still have written some insightful things. You will still have written some smart things. You will still have written some creative things. Because it's really something, you get your creativity flowing, and the power of it on its own starts to come up with interesting options and just insightful things. Like, you'll find it amazing. So again, just as you sit down to write something insightful and brilliant and smart and creative, and you write something stupid and crappy and whatever for a while, and then suddenly things become creative and interesting and insightful and surprising and amazing. You sit down to actually try to write the silly, crappy, not to what you consider to be not smart or whatever, or the most embarrassing thing that you can think of to write. Whatever your soft spot on that, sit down and plan. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to write to that. I'm going to write to the soft spot. Here I go. I'm going to write the silliest, and also even for your problem solving. So that's your creativity for creativity's sake. But even for your problem solving. So now let's say we sit down once a week and we say, okay, we're looking at each one of these areas of our life. Are they in progress? And if we have one area particularly that we really don't think is in progress, then we are going to say, I should come up with a list of activities that would be good for me to do to put this area in progress. And you can't think of a good activity. You can't think of a smart activity. You can't think of an activity that sounds like progress. Guess what? I'm going to make a list here of stupid activities with the same idea of trying to put that area in progress. But what are the stupidest things I could do to put that area in progress? And just start writing for literally, come up with your time period. That sort of, it doesn't have to be 15 minutes every time, but, come up with a 10-minute time slot here. Give your creativity a chance to start pumping. So just say, okay, I'm going to come up with the stupidest activities I could possibly do. I'm going to laugh at every one. And you just start doing that. And as you get pouring that out, I could do this, I could do that, I could do this, I could do that. You know what? At some point, your creativity is going to kick in. It's going to start giving you good ideas, creative ideas, insightful ideas, smart ideas, even if you didn't have that as an objective. So this is, this is a type of exercise that I think is going to help people have a breakthrough with their creativity. And your creativity is really your human superpower. We all have it. Every person has it. Even the person that thinks, I'm not very creative. I sit down, I don't, when I write things, they're not creative. They're creative, all right. For some reason, they're not pleasing you at that moment. And again, those fears have kicked in. What if I write something stupid? What if I write something silly? What if I write something foolish? What if I write something, unrealistic? Great. Pick that as an objective and start to do that. Put in your 10 minutes, put in your 15 minutes on your problem solving. What's a list of things I could do for this? Now, as you're actually solving those problems and you take some area of your life, you say, I'm going to take the wealth area of my life and I'm going to come up with some things that I could do to actually help move that wealth area of my life into a state of progress. And you come up with a bunch of activities and a bunch of that you could do, and you'll ultimately find something, hey, that would probably be a really good idea. But also, there's going to be information there that I don't have when I try to do that. So part of the creative exercise might be to tell yourself, where can I go for this exercise? Where can I go for information on this topic so I can do something that's really going to work? So I can do something that's going to make a difference. So if you're thinking about how to save your money, you might think, oh, great, where's the resources that I can find to find information about how to save money? So, books, the library, on the internet, on YouTube, whatever. But you said, I sat down, I couldn't think of anywhere to look. Again, let's make a list. I couldn't think of anything to list. I just thought of stupid ideas and silly ideas. Great. Let's try to make a stupid, silly list. Make that. Get that pump of creativity going in your life. And ultimately, it's not going to disappoint you. And, artists can also use this. You can use this same techniques for songwriting. You can use the same techniques for story writing, for poetry writing, for book writing, for script writing, and that type of thing. I'm a strong believer that anytime that everyone has the creativity to really dig in and do anything it is they want to do. But, when I have a person, I tried to write some songs and I couldn't write anything. Or, I tried all last year and I wrote one song and I've really been working on it. What do you think? And, you're like, okay, hey, that song's fine. They're like, see, it's not great. Like I wrote one song and it's not great. Wow. No great songwriters of any time that you think are the greatest people in the world. None of these people ever sat down and wrote one song and had it be great. As a matter of fact, they didn't even sit down with that objective. If you would like to actually pretty well guarantee you're going to come up with the first the worst idea of the worst piece of art or the worst thing that you could ever write down in your life. Just sit down with the idea of only coming up with one idea and making it the best idea you've ever had. I guarantee you sit down with that objective, and every time you're done, you're going to look at it and you're going to go, okay, that's embarrassing. Put that away. I'm never going to do it again. Right? Let's get used to that idea. Let's get used to the fact that we have to draw from these creative resources. Let's say, great, I write these ideas for this topic for 10 minutes every time I try to solve a thing. I go, here's 10 ideas. Here's 10 ideas for a story. When I sit down to do the actual creative exercise every day, the creativity for creativity's sake, and I've decided to write a story about something, when you sit down, start writing, and you think, I can't think of anything good to write. Good. Can you think of anything stupid to write? Can you think of anything silly to write? Can you think of anything crappy to write? Good. Start writing it. Just start writing. Don't set out with the idea of trying to do something good. And as a matter of fact, I can give an example, a personal example, just from me, just from this week. Because here's another thing, you spend 10 years, you put together a book like this, and you go, oh, person reads the book, and they go, hey, there's some pretty interesting and insightful, ahas in here, and this guy really has some answers. So that's really good for him, but I don't really have those answers. Well, the interesting thing is, it's like a considering the few ideas you have to keep together every day for your golf swing. You stand up there and you don't have the ideas, and just like that. So I sit down a number of times a week now, and I sit down to do these shows. And so, needless to say, I have to draw on my creativity of how am I going to do that and how am I going to go about that. So first, when I decided on the show, I thought, well, I could sit down and I could say all the things I want to say in the course of, let's say, half an hour or an hour. No matter how I say them, then I could sit down for 2 hours or 3 hours and I could edit them. And then no matter what I've said, I'll be able to edit it into something good. And I thought, well, then I'm 1 hour doing the show, and I'm 3 hours editing. I'm probably going to become better at editing than I'm going to become at doing the show. So I decided, no, I'm going to say, when I sit down to do a show that's 15 minutes or half an hour or something like that, I'm just going to sit down with the idea of clearing out 2 hours that morning. And I'm just going to turn on first I'm going to brainstorm the topic and a few ideas with the methods that we discussed here. And then I'm going to just click on the camera and I'm going to start doing the show. And so what ends up happening? Yeah, sometimes I've got to shut the thing off a few times. The first show I did it, I had to actually restart the show and redo the show maybe 10 times. So that day I really was at it for a few hours. And so the second show is actually, I recorded that third. And so the second show I recorded, I actually posted third. When I did that one, I actually only had to restart the camera, 4 or 5 times, and that was great. The show I posted second, I actually, interestingly enough, I put the camera up, and I thought, okay, great. Here I'm going to do a number of takes on this, and here I've got my ideas and a few points, and here I go. So I actually just rattled that one right off, and at the end of one take, I thought, oh my God, that was pretty good. I shut it off, and I think I can put that up. So now what got in my head? What got in my head is, hey, I could sit down and do these shows in one take. So, and I kind of like the show. I think I'll be able to improve on them. I think I'll be able to do better. So what am I going to do? I'm going to sit down now. I'm going to really put my head into some ideas, and I'm going to sit down and try to do a good show in one take. What happens? No shows get posted for the next 4 days, 5 days, because every time I sit down with the idea that I'm going to try to do something I think is a little clever in one take, guess what? It's not there, folks. So now you're looking behind the curtain. You're looking on both sides of this, YouTube program. First of all, the information I'm telling you, and also the same information I'm using it. And yeah, when I'm using it correctly and it's working, is it working? Absolutely. I'm getting the results. I'm getting to do the show, whatever. I forget it like a golf swing. You stand up. You just have to remember, keep your eye on the ball, bend your knees, right? Do a few certain things that you do. And boom, you get up, you remember one of the 3 things, you shank the ball off somewhere, right? And so it takes 18 tries that day at the tee to actually go, oh, wow, I actually remembered the whole things. Well, it's the same when you're looking at these creative exercises, and the same when I'm looking at these creative exercises. I took the time to come up with some of these techniques, and it took me a long time. But every time I sit down to do something creative, I have to absolutely remind myself to do that. Because if I start feeling a little too creative one day, I go, oh, hey, I did a pretty good job on it last time. This time I'm not going to even need 10 minutes. I'm not going to need an hour. I'm not going to need to give it 3 tries. I'm just going to do something pretty good right off the bat. It's not going to be there, folks. That's where you're sort of jamming that your whole creative muscle and not giving it a chance to do its thing. You want to give it the chance to do its thing. Say, guess what? I do this for a certain period of time, and just start to do that. Anyway, thank you. I'll be having a look at this video, just as I do at all of them. And this might be the one you're seeing, and this might not be the one you're seeing. I might have to do it 3 or 4 times. That's called a creative process. As I get doing it, my creativity gets better. If I like it, you'll see it. If I don't, you'll see the next one. Obviously, you are seeing it, so this is the one I picked on this given day. But, that doesn't mean I didn't have to stop the thing 8 times and give my creativity a chance to kick in. I hope you can consider and use some of these ideas today. And again, it's from my book, Happiness and Well-Being Through Balance and Progress. There's a link on the channel here. I'm going to put that up. Oh, good job, Panasonic. Anyway, there's a link on the channel here that takes you to Amazon. That book's available if you'd like to take a look at it. I appreciate that. Also, if you're enjoying any of this content or any of these shows, please hit the subscribe button if you can, because that really tells YouTube that give these shows a chance. Somebody likes them. And also, if you like it, please hit a like on there. Anyway, thanks a lot for coming out again today, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.